Everyone. We're the girls who eat, breathe, and dream motorsport. And I'm Danique, and I'm joined here with my lovely co-host Jamie and our lovely guest for today, Manvi.
Hi everyone, thank
Welcome.
you so much for inviting me. First of all, Jamie and Danique.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing to join us on the podcast. So to start off, of course, we had an eventful race yesterday. I was not able to watch it, but I've heard from other people that it was quite eventful. And it was the first race not won by a Red Bull this season.
Yes. I was happy that was a Ferrari, but would have been happy with Lando or someone else. But yeah, I was very, very happy. I think I screamed a lot.
Well, I'm first of all upset that you missed the race. I had to wake up super early at 8 a.m. I actually was very, very close to not watching the race because I just had not slept well. I woke up, I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that now. And then I did watch the race, and I'm so glad that I did because it was absolutely the best race of the season. I'm really sorry, Danique, that you missed it. I really wish that you could go back and watch it now. But yeah, it was an incredible race. I think this season has been, to put it delicately, it's been a little bit of a snooze fest. You know, every weekend we know who's gonna win. We've had We've had some races where some laps have been interesting. Of course, Monza, we had Carlos Sainz again starting, and he managed to hold on to P1 for in the first 14 or 15 laps. So we've had some pockets of excitement here and there. But I think Singapore was definitely an anomaly in the calendar. It's always an anomaly, actually, in the calendar, just because the way the track is built out. So yeah, it was definitely a very, very, very interesting race. I think the last 10 or 15 laps, my heart was in my throat.
Yeah, it was so.
I've heard a lot strategy. Of people.
Like who's going to do what, and that's what you were really waiting for, and who's causing it, maybe in other safety car. So I really liked it, and my father as well.
Even Carlos's strategy. I mean, just to think about how his presence of mind and how clever his strategy himself was, because we all Formula One is a team sport, right? Of course, the drivers are in the car, but you do rely on your team to give you all the data, all the information. But even so, there is only so much a team can do. After that, it's really a driver, to put everything in execution. And I think in that moment, for him to have the presence of mind to give Lando the DRS to be able to defend, because he knew it would be harder for him to defend from the Mercs than it would have been to defend Lando. So I think just to have that peace of mind just shows how much he has matured as a driver as well. Of course, I feel like he has always been somebody who's always been a bit of a tactical, strategic driver. But I do think that given all the ups and downs of Ferrari, he's not always the opportunity to have that shine. I think this one just reminded us of what a mature and clever and smart driver Carlos is.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree, because the fact that his team was saying, so many seconds until Norris, and he was like, with DRS, and he was like, yes, this is on purpose.
Yeah.
I've seen clips and bits of pieces, and I saw that, and I was like, he is one of those drivers who is very lucky, partially that his dad was also a driver. It's similar to Max. Like, if Max wasn't raised the way he was raised, and if he didn't have both Sophie and Jos as parents, I don't think he would have been the racer that he is today, with his clear mind regarding racing. And he's always striving to do the best. But like, he's also matured so much especially since 2016, 2017, 2018 even. And like, that's with him and Carlos, you can definitely notice that they grew up in a motorsport family because of the way they think about the car. It's also what you saw back when Carlos left McLaren. The car turned very badly. because Lando didn't know how to stop a car properly. Whereas you can see that Carlos has that knowledge very well. You notice like when it was Lando and Daniel, they were both not the greatest at figuring out setups, while the drivers like Max and Carlos and Valtteri, who are great with setup and the tactical part as well, like when to pit, when not to pit, where to keep other cars in the back, or where to overtake cars on the track, even if it's not the most convenient places. Things like that. You can definitely see it very well in races like Singapore or Monza.
I think
Yeah,
all
I
the
agree.
drivers come with such a unique background. They all, different kinds of upbringings. Some drivers come from more motorsport bred families than others. So I think it's always very interesting to see their growth. I think every driver has, even if they've only around for a few years versus somebody like Alonso who's there for so long now. I think every driver experiences some kind of growth, especially when they move around teams, because you have to adjust to a different team, different car, you have to adjust your driving style a little bit, and vice versa. So it's interesting to see. I think in 2024 we're not seeing that many driver changes at all. So unfortunately, we won't see any of that next year. But I think this year and even last year, we did get to experience a lot of that.
Yeah. And also feel like it was also very noticeable in the changes from 2021 to 2023 or 2020 to 2021. Like the drivers changed quite a bit back then, and you had like a couple of rookie drivers coming in, and you really noticed like if you put a certain driver next to a rookie, the rookie will perform quite well. But if you put another driver next to a rookie, they don't have any like proper support within the team because the driver doesn't know how to give the feedback well enough. So that I always find very interesting to see. And it's also why I love Formula E, because most drivers there also are very strategic and they tend to choose when to pick attack modes rather than base it on whatever the team is saying or just what the team is saying.
Yeah, Formula E is definitely very interesting. I think Formula E's racing itself is just so different. It's so much of course, there is a little bit more of that tactical perspective because of attack mode, how much you have to be strategic about when you want to use it, how much you want to use, and all those things. Whereas people make that distinction with DRS, and DRS, you're always going to have DRS as long as you're in that 1 second of gap. So it's a little bit different in terms of like how strategic and how tactical Formula E drivers have to be. And this season, I think, has been pretty interesting with Formula E. I was at the race in Portland, and that race was absolutely incredible. There were like 400 plus overtakes the entire one race session, which was absolutely insane, even for Formula E standards, because usually Formula E is about 200, 250 plus, or maybe like less than 200, and they're expecting 250 plus in Portland, and it just exceeded all expectations with like 400 plus overtakes. It was incredible. And we didn't know who the champion is going to be until I think it was the second to last round. So
yeah, it was indeed till the second race of London. No, the first race of London. It was the second race of Rome that really said, like, you guys are out of championship contention. As like it was Cassidy and Dennis who were still in the championship contention, but then of the way the second race, the first London happened, it was Dennis who, of course, got champion, but there was still a team championship that was still yet to be decided. So I always find it interesting. In 2020, or like season 7, we had a 6-way fight for the title. And then eventually Nick de Vries won that championship. Season 8, we had I believe a 4-way battle as well, 4 or 5-way battle for the championship as well. Stoffel van Doorne won that championship with only 1 race win. F1 could never. And then you had this year a championship fight that was 4 people for most of it who were in championship contention. Yes, at some point it was 6 or 3, but then someone did something magically very well, and then they were either in contention again or they did really badly, and then they were completely out of contention, which was very interesting. And it's been like this almost every year in Formula E, we were in Monaco. There was the cars going 3 wide through the hairpin. The hairpin is not that wide. We saw a bus struggling to take the hairpin. Cars had to wait for us to pass before they could continue down the hairpin, which is like you see F1 and they are already struggling to put one car down the hairpin almost.
Yeah.
So it's a very big difference.
Yeah, and as we get more and more street circuits every year, that challenge is becoming greater, because now we have next year we're going to have this year we have another one. We have Vegas, which is also going to be a street race. And of course, with permanent tracks versus street circuits, that challenge is always going to be there with the breadth of the track, yield, how much you can't. So it's interesting, but I think we'll see how. We have no idea what the Vegas race is going to be this year, so I guess we can only make an evaluation once that happens. But I think with Formula E, I'm really excited about next year in particular, because there's been a bunch of very interesting driver swaps. We've seen some interesting moves happen this year, which actually I wasn't really expecting. So
I was expecting some of them, not all of them, but some of them I was definitely expecting. But one of the driver swaps that I was definitely not expecting was Edoardo Mortara leaving Maserati. And it was an announcement on Friday 5 p.m.
Yeah,
so it was
why?
It's end of the day announcement. Let everyone speculate, and we'll see whenever we see you again to announce our next driver.
Yeah, I work in PR, and that's actually a very tactical, because you always announce things on the end of a Friday, because no one else is going to be there on the weekends. It's it's just the news is going to get not stale. They don't want the news to get stale, but you don't have a chance to ask them immediate questions. So it's actually very smart. I wasn't totally surprised. I was surprised only because Maserati has only been in the season for 1 year. And
although
as Maserati MSG.
Maserati,
Yeah, and I think this year they put so much emphasis behind the new rebrand and everything, and it was a huge part of that. So I was not fully expecting it, but I think Felipe did such a great job during the rookie. That I think that also, I think that might have raised eyebrows.
I think so too. I think also because of course has competed with Abt in not Formula E, in DTM, and was almost champion with them. He was vice champion at least at some point. I feel like that's also why the spectators are starting now that Robin is gone up. That Edo might be taking that seat in Abt car, which would be very interesting. But I also feel like he's quite the family-minded driver. So Abt is one of the teams where I can see him return. But for the Maserati seat, I feel like there's speculation of both Felipe Drugovich going there, as there is for Nick de Vries going there. because originally, before Nick was signed with AlphaTauri for the F1 seat, he was actually supposed to be the driver at Maserati instead of Maximilian Winter. So there's speculations going for either Felipe Drugovich or for Nick de Vries. But of course, it's completely depends on what the team wants. Do they want a young and up-and-coming driver, or do they want the tried and tested Formula E champion of season 7? So I'm very excited to see where that will go.
Yeah, me too.
Same. I was not expecting it, and I was like, okay, I was expecting him to stay, and then Maximilian staying as well, and now it's like, okay, Eduardo left, who's taking that seat, and is Maximilian staying? Because now it's like open for debate if they maybe want to sign him, or maybe will not sign him. So that's curious how that plays out.
And that's also the thing with Formula E. Most of the times when contracts are signed, it's a 1-year contract. Whereas with Formula 1, we often see like at least 2-year contracts being signed. But like the only multiple year contract I can think of right off the top of my head currently in Formula E is Mitch Evans, likely, Jake Dennis, and most definitely Sebastian Buemi, because he signed a multi-year deal with Envision. So I'm very curious to see like how long actually was the multi-year deal. I think it was 2 years. It might be even a third one. And I'm especially excited to see how Buemi and Vince will do in the same team, because those have butted heads before in Paris, for example. Like there's this one interview where Robin is basically very similar and very cool-headed and just straight thinking like Max Verstappen. And I feel like that's partially just the Dutch soberness. And then there's Buemi being fully pissed at Freins because of a crash or something that happened. And I'm very curious to see how it pans out as teammates.
Yeah, I think that could be an interesting one. I think that the lineups looks really good so far.
Yeah. And like with Formula E is we usually keep the drivers on the grid. The question just is where do we keep them?
I also was very happy that Norman got the seat at Andretti, because I was sad that he was leaving Nissan. So I was very happy with that announcement. I was like, yay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you are a Norminato fan.
Yeah, I know. So I was very happy. And definitely, I think
it's obvious who I support.
Yeah. No, but I was very happy with Norman going to Andretti, but I'm curious how Jake and Norman are going to work together. Because, it's still Norman is coming in new and he already is there. So I'm curious about that.
Who are you supporting in Formula E mainly?
I changed it here, honestly. I think this year I was just like, this is the first day I was watching Formula E every race. Before that, I was only watching in sort of like, whenever I had the time, like I wasn't actually making time to watch it. This year I actually was a lot more invested and committed to it. So I think it's too soon for me to actually have someone fully support and would absolutely the hell off. But I also think, generally speaking, with drivers, it's just, I find it really hard to support one driver, even in F1, because I really do admire them. They're all the best drivers in the world. And there's really there's so many, just like all these WEF drivers are fantastic. And there's just really barely any, I would say the differences are so marginal that it's so hard to actually say, yes, this driver is better than the other one.
Mm-hmm. And personality-wise of the drivers, from what you've already seen?
From Formula E or Formula 1? I'm so sorry. 1 second.
Formula E mainly
Bottle.
right now.
Formula E, I actually, I'm trying to think Portland because I was in the conference room. I was very lucky to have an accreditation in Portland. I was in the press conference room and I was with Nick Cassidy and Jake Dennis and who was P3 in that race? Was it Buemi?
I do not
I
remember actually.
I think it was
have
Da
to know
Costa.
now.
Wasn't it Da Costa?
Yes, no, yes, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I remember is
actually-
me sleeping over at your house, Jamie,
Yeah.
and absolute chaos of the race.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I actually think that I'm trying to decide between DaCosta and someone. I think DaCosta is really interesting to me, only because I mean, obviously he's a more mature driver, more experienced driver.
Mature
I
is
think
debatable.
Well, but I think he's really reached that point where he really speaks his mind, which I really like. And I say that from a media perspective because I work in PR and I kind of like to pick up on those things. And I actually really, not that I say that drivers should not be media trained, they absolutely should be media trained because all drivers have responsibility of,
Yeah.
they're all role models
But
in
there's-
some way or shape or form.
But
So
there's
they obviously
still
want to,
levels of
buy other
media
people.
training. You have George Russell
Right.
media training or Max Verstappen media training.
I think it depends on your personality and how media facing you want to be. It also depends on the team. So all those things go hand in hand. But in that press conference, DaCosta was just I was only there for him because he was just giving you so many nuggets of what he did wrong. Because I remember thinking that why I said that he's such a mature driver in that way was that he was very much like I really thought I would be able to go for the win, but they both just did a better job than me.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of drivers actually say that. So I really
I
admire
remember, like, with the course of Fiji, one of the first things I saw DaCosta do, because he is just like Robin and some of the other drivers, he is both in Formula E and World Endurance. And one of the things I saw DaCosta do is go up to Robin to go congratulate him. Like, you don't see it in every sport, but like it's the same with the fact that after Jakarta, most of the Formula E drivers flew together to Le Mans to be there on time. Like, and they were just casually watching the race, watching stuff together and watching the race back and just chatting and having a party and stuff. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I love Formula E so much, because of the way that the drivers interact with each other. Like, they're great friends outside of the sport,
Yes.
but they're also fighting with each other out on track, but in a way that is like a good, healthy fight, if you get what I mean. And like, I don't remember. Oh, wait. Yeah. Talking about Costa, in Rome, we were in the pit lane with the pit lane walk, and he had accidentally signed over the signature of Jake Hughes on the bucket hat of my friend. And his response to it was, "Oh yeah, Jake, you shouldn't have stolen my car." Because due to the lottery and Jake having an issue with the car or having crashed the car and limited spare parts in Formula E due to sustainability, they have to share car parts and everything. So Jake had the car of Porsche to drive in, and DaCosta was a little sassy and was like, "Yeah, that's my car." And I'm friends with, well, both Jamie and I are friends with someone called who has been a super fan in Formula E several times, and DaCosta recognized him, and he was like, "Where is Porsche cap?" Because he was wearing an Envision cap instead of a Porsche cap.
Oh my god.
So he got mad, and then James went back the day after, and he was wearing Porsche cap then. And then he went up to Sam Bird, and Sam Bird was like, "Hey, have my cap because you should be wearing Jaguar merch."
Oh my god.
And like, that's the funny banter between Formula E drivers.
Yeah.
It's why I love the sport. I prefer Formula E over Formula 1 because now I'm understand more of the sport.
Yeah, Formula E definitely has a bit of a learning curve because especially if you're moving from Formula One to Formula E. I will say I think, you enjoy driver personalities and action, I think you should watch IndyCar because nothing, in my
I
opinion, is IndyCar.
I try, but for me it's very difficult because in the Netherlands it's very difficult unless you have specific subscriptions to all be able to watch the IndyCar
Yeah.
races because often football gets pushed forward more than IndyCar, and then even though they say they are showing IndyCar, they're still showing soccer
Yeah.
or football as
Oh,
we
I
say
can see
it.
that. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it's very difficult for me to watch IndyCar, but if I watch, I'm always rooting for Rinus VK.
Yeah. I mean, we can not do something else because
I
he's
also
just
root for
Dutch.
Callum Islet, but especially for Rinus VK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So more about your role. So what we always ask our guests is, who are you and what is your role within the motorsport world?
Yeah. So of course, everybody already knows this. My name is Manvi, but I work with females in motorsport in the capacity of I for them just covering from a media perspective, from a content creator perspective. But most notably, I host the Females in Motorsport podcast, where it's really more of a guest interaction podcast. So I really try to get as many women in motorsport who work in the industry, have worked in the industry for long, not for long, doesn't matter, to share their stories and share not only their challenges, but also just things that can actually help other women work in the sport. We've of course seen a very big uptick in female fandom in motorsport in general, and Formula One alone. The numbers are 8% to 40% in the past 6 years. So naturally, there's a lot more women coming into the sport as well. And it's not always easy for women to be in a male dominated field. And when I say be, I mean be in the workforce. So that's kind of like the aim with Females in Motorsport in the podcast to really help mitigate some of those challenges, to help create more of a ladder for women to be able to become whoever they want to be in the world of motorsport, whether you're a content creator, if you want to go in marketing, media, engineering, what have you. We have been lucky enough to have guests from all over the industry. So it's really, really been a learning opportunity for me and a privilege for me to be able to meet all these amazing women. So that's what I do in a nutshell for Females in Motorsport. And I've been at Females in Motorsport now for, I want to say almost 1 year. I think I started in November or December of last year. I think I want to say November of last year. So it's been almost 10 months now, which is absolutely incredible. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what's next in store for us. But that's what I do with the platform right now.
Yes, because
Sorry, interesting to hear.
I read that it was volunteer based, but with how many people are you running actually the accounts? So that's something I'm curious about because I know it's not just one person.
Yeah, so Helena, who's our founder, she's obviously running and supervising everything. There's a bunch of us who are, volunteers, like you say. So a lot of them are either new in motorsport, working in motorsport, or in college studying motorsport, or someone like me who's just interested in motorsport. So there's different backgrounds, which is absolutely great because that way we all get to have our unique perspectives. It's hard to really quantify how many people. I, for one, don't have the visibility into the entire team. I really focus on the podcast and the content that I create. But we have a really, really great set of women who work in the team. And Helena obviously does an amazing job in managing everybody's schedules and obviously, supervising the account and making sure everything is running smoothly and everything. So it takes a village. I'm not gonna lie, it does take a village, but I think the great thing is that we all really want to do this. Obviously, if you're working on a volunteer basis, it's something that you're actually giving up your time to do. So that's why I think Motorsport has such great engagement, because everybody behind it is not doing it for anything else except passion. So it's really all the love that you feel for the sport is really poured into the platform.
Yeah, because I find it curious because sometimes with like women, if they are like in big groups, it doesn't work always. Like there's always something, and I find that your the account you works like goes very smoothly, and you don't have an idea that it's like maybe like 10 people or 12 people or like 2 people. So that's something I was very curious about. So yeah.
I think I agree with you. I feel like sometimes, it the chemistry doesn't match when it's too many people. I do think that, it depends on um the management side of it as well, and the amount of time people have to give, and all those things. So I think, of course, like any other organization, we're all trying. Sometimes, we're trying very hard to make things happen, and sometimes things all over the place. But most of the times, everything runs very, very smoothly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So you've had the chance to talk to a lot of amazing women who work in the motorsport industry, of course. Who was your favorite to interview, and why was this person your favorite?
I would find it very hard to say who's a favorite, because everybody just is so different in the industry. I've had people from Formula E, Formula One, content creators who make all kinds of amazing content. And I think it would be very hard for me to say one favorite, but I think one conversation that I was personally very excited about was the chief media officer at Formula E, Aarti Dabas, because I actually met her in Portland, and I was particularly interested in speaking with her because we both are from the same hometown. And for someone who's South Asian, grew up in India, I don't really get to see that in the world of motorsport as often. I really don't get to see people who look like me working at that stature in the industry, especially in the leadership level. So that was a very personally inspiring and interesting conversation for me, because she was able to tell me all about her background, and we literally do come from the same hometown. Like I could drive to where she grew up in like under 20 minutes. So it was just very, very nice to see someone like that in the industry doing so well, and just being at such a accomplished role in a prestigious series like Formula E.
Yeah, I also think that it's important for people to see like someone like yourself. Like if you don't see it, you don't know. Like that's always the thing. Like if you don't see someone who is similar like yourself, then you don't think, oh, I can do that. And when you see it, you will think that it's possible. Like that's always very important from what I think.
Yeah,
and I was going to say that's the tagline of Females in Motorsport. It's see it, be it. So
yeah,
that's what I've also seen. Like, there's this creator I follow on TikTok. Her name is Jana, and she was like, I don't see a lot of people like me who are from South Asia. So she was like, I'm gonna be that person myself. And by her content creation, she got invited by Aston Martin at some point to interview with Sebastian Vettel, which is just incredible. And when she went to the Nürburgring event a few weeks ago, Seb still recognized her, and she has been invited by Aston Martin on more occasions as well, which is just incredible to see. Like, if you dream it, be it. Which is why I also love it that you guys are giving such a big platform to the females who are working, to the women who are working within the motorsport community.
I wanted to say that's very important that you see it, but I also like you have talked with so many people with amazing women. What is the best advice someone gave to you?
I think the best advice someone gave to me was that you really have to seize every opportunity. just make sure that you're just going for anything and everything, because you'll learn from anywhere you go. You will be able to absorb wherever you go. Just be open to anything, because you don't know how and when something will open a door for you. And I think one of those iterations was basically when I went to Portland and I met Aarti. That's exactly how I met her. I actually don't even know how that came about. I think I was in Portland in the media pen, and I got connected with somebody who works at Formula E, and I told her, like, if you know someone who would be interested in just, networking, I would love to do that. And that's how I met Aarti. And then I just asked her if she wants to be on the podcast. And then she was very gracious enough to say yes. So I think it's just, just things like that. Just make sure you're asking the right questions and seize every opportunity you get, because in motorsport, everything is changing every single day. There's new people coming in, new technology, new brands, new advertisers. There's literally something new every single day. So there's really a breadth and diversity of opportunities that are open. You just have to grab them.
Yes, there's also something that we do with the podcast. We try to just ask, because you never know what the answer will be. And that's something I always live by. I just ask, because you always have, like, you know that you could be a no, but it also could turn into a yes if you don't ask.
Yeah. That's absolutely. Literally a Dutch saying. Nee, heb je
a Dutch saying.
Like, it's a saying that you gotta know, but you can always try to get a yes.
Yes.
But you just have to ask for it.
Yeah. If you don't try, it's always a no. And if you try, it could turn into a yes.
That's the best advice someone gave you. Do you also have the worst advice that someone has given you?
I don't think any advice is really bad advice unless someone tells you to do something literally unethical or illegal, which no one thankfully has. I said, any advice, you can take something good out of it, something positive out of it. You just have to see how it applies to you. I think, when you're especially going into a new industry, especially for someone like me, motorsport is completely new for me. So I was very, very open to listening to anything and everything. Sometimes, you can decipher if that advice makes sense to you or not, but I don't think anything really like bad advice unless it's literally unethical or illegal.
And then you talked a bit about the future, but what are your plans for the future, and what are the plans with the platform for the future?
Honestly, for me, I have no idea where I'm going with my passion for motorsport right now. I currently have a full-time job that's not in motorsport, and I actually really like my job right now. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think I'm just also so new in the industry that I'm still trying to figure out if this is where I'm willing to take it. Up to, do I want to take it a little bit further? Do I want to do something a little bit more tangible with the sport? I'm just trying to use this time to figure that out on myself. I do think that's really important to always consider how much, you want to invest your time, because that's the one resource that, for all of us is very limited. So I'm just trying to figure out how much I really want to dedicate my time to this industry, though I love motorsport and Formula One and every other series. For the platform, for me personally, my focus is really to grow the podcast. We've been on now we started in April. How many months? It's been 5 months now. So, I think my aim is really to keep growing it, to keep having amazing guests on the show. I really want to try to do a little bit more content that what you guys are doing, is something more talking about the races and things like that. I was doing some race for F1 Academy when the season began, but it became a little bit difficult because it was not the races were not broadcast, and I found myself relying on other sources, which is not always the best way to do research. So I had to stop doing those, unfortunately. But I'm really hoping to pick those up a little bit and just make sure that other women know that we have this platform where we're talking to these amazing women, having these great guest interviews. If you guys have questions, you can come and listen to this podcast and hopefully have your questions answered. So that's personally my goal. Because I'm sure you guys have noticed as well, having your own podcast, that podcasting is a really, really great way to meet people literally all over the world. So I'm really trying to help grow that platform for females in motorsport, and also just continue doing what we're doing, highlight women, highlight drivers, highlight women in the industry, media professionals, everyone.
So what is a struggle that you as a motorsport podcast host run into?
I think generally the challenges for any podcaster, even if it's specifically about motorsport, I think because the motorsport news cycle moves so quickly, things change so often, I find it a little bit challenging to keep up with it sometimes, only because I have a full-time job on the side. So that is obviously my main priority on a weekday, and this is something I do for my passion on the side, and like my it's really like a labor of love. So that's something I personally find challenging, just the time management aspect of it, because there's so much happening in the world of motorsport. Like, we are talking about something that happened in the past 3 or 4 days, and we already have to talk about. So I think, that's always challenging. But I also think that having guests on, I've personally been very lucky to have guests who are very invested in the conversation. I think that's something that's really important, to make sure the guests are comfortable, because if they are not comfortable, then they're not going to be able to open up. Right. Because I think I can't tell you the amount of people who've told me that I'm really, some people who, you would know, people who are in Formula One, people who are in motorsport, their names. So you think, they have done a ton of these, but even if they have done a ton of these, there's always a level of nervousness comes with the podcast, something new you're doing. So I can't tell you the number of people who come to me and said that they're really nervous, and it's always a challenge to help draw them out, because it's really important for them to be comfortable. So I think that's something that I've been trying to work on a little bit personally myself, to make sure they're comfortable with the topics we're going to talk about, to make sure that you have just, you don't ask them things that they are not going to be able to speak about, and things like that, even though sometimes you want to, but you can't always do that. And especially as women, I don't know if you guys are familiar with imposter syndrome, right? So imposter syndrome is basically, how you're like, I really belong here. Like, why am I doing this? I have always felt that being in motorsport, because this is not an industry I grew up in, something I am very familiar with in the past. I only got familiar with in the past few years. So personally, for me, that was a bit of a struggle to get over that feeling, because I felt like I'm these amazing women. Why are they talking to me? That was my number one question. And because of that, the conversations, I was not able to draw them out and have those interesting conversations that I really wanted to have. So I think it's important to kind of pull the lens back a little bit and make sure that you are comfortable, and then making the other person is comfortable, because only then can you have an insightful conversation.
Yeah, I fully understand that, because you always have a little healthy nervousness, and then I have when I'm talking, then I'm fine, but in the beginning I'm like, okay, this person, who someone you might look up to, is going to be there, and you're going to talk with them, and you're going to ask them questions. But then if I'm starting talking, then it's fine. Then it's coming. But it's always the beginning. It's like,
yeah. I had that a lot with attending races, and then being in the Formula E pit lane, especially, and at the DTM race that I attended, being in the pit lane there. Like, I was still starstruck that I was even getting to be there, even though I showed up on time and everything. And also when we went to Rome, we had been to Monaco already, and we were at Rome, and we were going to get in line to get the wristbands to do the pit lane walk, and so people from the Formula E organization recognized us from Monaco. So that still felt a little bit weird, even though you were there with like one of the guys who has been a Formula E super fan on multiple occasions. But the fact that they still recognized me and my friend as well, besides that super fan, like it was a very surreal moment. And also the fact that Robert remembered this flag as well, it just felt surreal because it felt like it shouldn't happen to me because I'm just a fan. But like it shows that the dedication you show to a certain type of motorsport is appreciated and is reciprocated as well.
Okay.
So, do you have any questions for us still?
Oh my God. No, I don't have any questions. Oh my God. No, I don't have any questions for you guys. I do want to say that I think it's really great what you guys are doing. I know it's intimidating to be a podcaster. I can say from my own personal experience. And I think you're doing a fabulous job. So honestly, kudos to you. Make sure you're taking time for yourself and recognizing that it's not always easy to do these things and take them out of your personal lives to do that. You could be doing anything else right now. So think about that. So you guys are doing a really great job. Is the first thing I want to say. And the second thing I want to say is that as fans of the sport who are women, who are young, always remember that you guys are a big part of the audience. And I feel like this is a conversation I could probably have for hours and hours. But I think it's really important that we all remember that we make up for 40% of Formula One fans right now. That is huge. And I don't think Formula One has ever seen that number coming from women, especially young women. So it's really important to remember that because that will determine that your opinion is important. What you guys are doing right now is important because there's so many women like you, your age, who look just like you, who don't look like you, but still want to, do exactly what you're doing, listen to your opinion. So just remember that what you guys are doing is essential.
Thank you. Sometimes it feels like, I'm someone who wants to work in motorsport, so this for me is also like a platform to use for that. But it's still sometimes hard, and I'm like, I want to do this, so I need to commit to this. But still sometimes hard because you don't always see everyone, and then you're like, I'm doing this for nobody. But then I remember like there are so many young people, guys and girls who want to do the same, and I think that's also part for us. It's like it's not only for women, it's also for us, for everybody, that they feel safe and that they feel seen and that kind of stuff. So that you say that means a lot.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So I think we're coming to an end of this episode because it's already, I think, long enough. So thank you for being here, first of all, and for listening.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for inviting me. And of course, if you guys ever, I don't know how much of a resource I'd be for you, but obviously, if you guys ever need anything from me, not that I'm a podcasting expert by any means, but if you guys do have any questions, if you just want to, another set of eyes and another set of ears, of course I'm here for that. And I hope your listeners enjoy this episode.
I hope so too, because we enjoyed this as well. And thank you for our listeners to listening, and we hope to see you. I always say to see you, but we don't really see them. But I hope they will come back for next week's episode.
Hopefully we will. Sometimes, I've been to offices this year and I met so many people who I've only met over the internet. And it's such a nice feeling to meet someone you've only met online. So hopefully we will get to see each other sometime in person.
Yeah, hopefully. We're trying to go to like 3 or 4 Formula E weekends upcoming year, all within Europe. But like, if people want to come up to us, we're definitely going to be in Berlin.
Yeah.
Most likely Monaco.
I'm definitely going to Monaco.
London. Definitely London.
Yeah.
And hopefully Rome is also possible still.
Yeah.
Love that. I have no idea where I'm going to be next year, but if I am, I will let you guys know.
Yeah, we also have recently made some communities for any fans that are gonna be attending those races. So make sure to check those out. They are on our Instagram link tree for anyone to join who are attending those races or planning to attend those races.
Definitely planning. But it's more also where I made the podcast because, if you are going to be alone, you don't have to be alone because there are enough people going. And if you see that someone in that group is going, then you have someone to just hang on to. So that's why that's the main reason I wanted to make those WhatsApp groups. And that's why we made this. So